moment we've all been waiting for, so I'd like to introduce to us Professor Mukoma Ngugi, who is a novelist, poet, and literary scholar. Now, Mukoma is a professor of English at Cornell University. Mukoma has a PhD in English from the University of Wisconsin, an MA in creative writing from the Boston University, and a BA in English and political science from Albright College. He is the proud founder of the Babati Cornell Kiswahili Prize for African Literature, although now you know it's called Safa Cornell Prize for African Literature, and this prize will be held on Friday this week, so you can look out for information on that. And I hope that you submitted your entries. He was also named one of the 100 most influential Africans in 2013 by the New African magazine. He is the author of 4 novels, 2 poetry books, scholarly books, and numerous articles. In 2009, he was shortlisted for the K Prize for African Writing. And in 2010, he was shortlisted for the Penguin Prize for African Writing. Mukoma has written articles, for those of you who are here and you're doing communication and journalism, so he's a columnist. He's written for the BBC, Focus Africa magazine, The Guardian, Daily Nation, among many other publications. He's also been a guest on BBC TV, Al Jazeera, Nation, and many others. Now, Professor Mukoma to us. Karibu.
My phone, I'm not expecting a phone call yet, I'm just putting a timer. Because I feel that my job here really is actually to introduce or for you guys to listen to Carol Boyce Davis, Professor Carol Boyce Davis. But with that said, I know a few things to say. The first one is, of course, to thank Professor Dr. Tabula, Mushiye, the professor, who welcomed us here. When coming here with Tabula, I don't call him doctor, right? I just call him brother, right? So he met at St. Paul's University 5 years ago, so that's how long I've known him, right? So, but I don't say, hey, doctor, how you doing? I say, brother. Yeah, so, yeah. And also really to thank you guys for being here, but also for the Murang'a University, right? So I grew up in Limuru. I'm a Limuru boy, if you put it that way. I grew up in Limuru, I went to Tivoli, then I went to Kenya, then I went to Kanunga, right? So, but it's actually my first time in Murang'a. So you guys can tell me, you can say shame on me, really. That I'm from Limuru, but this is my first time in Murang'a. So, I'm a teacher. I'm also a storyteller. I'm a teacher, I'm also a storyteller, so this will be a mixture of, my remarks will be a mixture of both of it, coming from a teacher and also a storyteller, right? All right, okay, so we are born in one place, right? We are born in one place, but that one place is many things, right? So I've become very, very interested in questions around blackness, right? And maybe this is a good time to mention also in the US, where I've been, I went to the US in 1990, where I've been now for over 30 years, over half my life. It's also Black History Month, right? So the idea of blackness, the idea of we're not alone, right? We're not alone. Having an extended awareness, and now being the teacher, right? Because if you're taking notes, put this in your notes. Having an extended awareness of your blackness, but having an extended awareness of the larger world and being a citizen of that world and the responsibilities that come with that, right? Okay, knowledge of course is very critical to that. Knowledge is, I don't know if it's a cliche, by now, but knowledge is power, right? But with that knowledge though, how does it serve the cause, if you're not putting that way, the cause of justice, right? Of justice, really, because even the questions around blackness and so on and so forth, eventually become a question of justice. And okay, so the people I admire in this life actually started in one profession, then they extended their awareness, right? So take Che Guevara, right? I know you guys know Che Guevara, right? Cuba, the Cuban Revolution. But he was from Argentina, ended up in Cuba, becomes one of the activists of the Cuban Revolution. He comes to the Congo, and also Angola, actually to the Congo, then ends up in Bolivia, right? But he was a doctor, he was a medical doctor, right? Again, that extended awareness. If you take Frantz Fanon was a psychiatrist. Frantz Fanon, okay, you guys know Frantz Fanon, maybe I should assume. Okay, how many people here know Frantz Fanon? Okay, then okay, so 2 or 3 people. Then you have a duty to your own self, especially now that you're in college. You owe yourself then to develop this knowledge of people like Frantz Fanon, Che Guevara, and so on and so forth. But anyway, Frantz Fanon, he was trained as a psychiatrist. He was from Martinique, right? From Martinique, he ends up in France. But he also ends up in Algeria. In Algeria, he becomes the spokesperson for the FLN, which was the resistance movement against the French colonialism. But anyway, the point is, he started off as a psychiatrist, then became, because of his extended awareness, then he became a citizen of the world, really. Right? And maybe I should have said my remarks would be around the question of what are our responsibilities as citizens of the world, right? And how do we own it? So that's Frantz Fanon. Okay, you have Paul Farmer. Now, Paul Farmer, he was a doctor. He passed away recently. He was a doctor. Like a doctor, not like a doctor of philosophy. As a young son as well, but like a doctor. But again, he was led by the contradictions of. Okay, so maybe I should rephrase this. Let me put it this way, right? Okay, we are all coming from somewhere, right? We're all coming from somewhere, right? And we're learning something, right? But whatever we learn at some point, we're also responsible for that society, right? So in this for Paul Farmer and for Che Guevara and Frantz Fanon, it came to a point where their training wasn't enough, right? It just wasn't enough because the common theme amongst them is that they are treating the symptoms, right? They are treating the symptoms as opposed to then essentially trying to change the world, right? So we come from somewhere, but we have to have that extended awareness and also take that responsibility, right? So okay, so you guys are here, right? You're here on campus, right? For 4 years or so. Take this time, really take this time to develop that extended awareness, because ultimately we all have to be useful, right? We have to be useful, right? And if you're not useful, then what's the point? Then what's the point of being here? What's the point of starting from somewhere if you'll be useful, right? So, but then I think that usefulness, of course, will be dependent on where you're coming from. In this case, philosophically. Okay, is this making sense? Am I losing you guys? Has somebody fallen asleep? Who's asleep? Okay, so we're all awake. Yeah, anyway then. So for me, I followed that question of wanting to be useful, right? I was born in the U.S., right? But I grew up in Limuru. I said I'm from Limuru. I said I'm a Limuru boy. That's my home, right? become interested in questions of these contradictions of blackness, right? And wanted to be part of the world, or wanted to be a citizen of the world, right? So one of the things I'm doing, it will be around global blackness, right? So I've been to Cuba, I've been to Jamaica, I've been to, Ghana, and all these other places, just trying to understand what is blackness in this world, right? What I've learned is that people who are taken here as slaves, right? Of course, we're talking multiple generations now, 500, 600 years ago, right? They're everywhere. We exist. When I say we're not alone, it's because really we are not, right? We are not, right? So I'm becoming interested in those questions. So in Cuba, you go to Cuba, you meet black people there, and then we have conversations around that. Of course, Ghana. Of course, Ghana is black, right? But Ghana itself is interesting because it becomes the home for Pan-Africanism, right? Again, you guys, you owe it to yourselves to read about, for example, Mukoma, right? Here's the short of it, because really I just want to introduce the CBD, Professor Carl Poyet gave this way. But the short of it is that, okay, how many of you know that Malcolm X came to Kenya? Yeah, okay, you guys know Malcolm X, right? But did you know he came to Kenya? So Malcolm X in the 60s came to Kenya. He met with Jomo Kenyatta, met with Odinga, right? He went to Zanzibar, met with Babu, right? But by the fact, also he gave a speech at the parliament, at the Kenyan parliament, right? But the fact that as Kenyans, this is not something we know should worry all of us, right? I didn't know this until a few years ago as well. I grew up here, but once you start calling Malcolm X, then you get into the world of, when you're saying you also met with Thiong'o Pinto. Okay. All right, do you guys know the Thiong'o Pinto? All right. Okay, show hands. How many people here know Thiong'o Pinto? Okay, 3, 4. Okay, 5. Okay, fine. Yeah, so but Thiong'o Pinto was one of the, we're talking about during colonialism, one of the people who was speaking for African independence, but he was an Indian from Goa. He was an Indian from Goa. He becomes a trade unionist in Kenya, right? Who actually gets killed by Jomo Kenyatta. He gets assassinated by Jomo Kenyatta once Kenya becomes independent. Anyway, when Malcolm X was here, then he met with Thiong'o Pinto, right? What I'm trying to say is, and if you take anything from me today, you owe it to yourselves to have this extended awareness, of the world. With that, then I'll stop there. So then also, one of the things I learned a few years ago is that there's a very strong Kiswahili presence here. Kiswahili language, right? So one of the things I do, I'm the co-founder of the Kiswahili Prize for African Literature, as Dabula pointed out. The prize itself awards $50,000 to the winning writer. The whole idea behind it is to promote African languages, right? So, and actually the reason why we're here with Professor Davis is because we have the award ceremony on Thursday or Friday, right? So the other thing that write in Kiswahili and submit to that, right? And submit your entries to the Kiswahili Prize. But again, the whole thing about extended awareness, okay, where are we? What languages do we speak, right? What languages do we speak? How seriously do we take them? For you guys, I'm assuming most of you are in technology. Okay, so how can we use African languages? to speak about that technology, right? Because I guess now I'm going back, I'm becoming like my father really, to say that. But the whole idea of that when you think about African languages, we use them to speak, to play around, right, or to speak to a friend. But we never really think about them in terms of how can we talk about Africa? Can we write a physics book now in Kiswahili, or the language of your mother tongue, right? All this knowledge we are accumulating, right? Because that's what we're doing. We're accumulating knowledge. Then how can that be rendered in the language we speak? All right. Okay. So think of it this way, right? We can't just be people, and we really are. We can't just be people who extract knowledge, from the villages, and then put it into English without bringing that knowledge back. Right? You know what I mean? So, and I'm saying this because I remember, like I said, I grew up here, and one of our projects was of oral literature, where I had to go and talk to my grandmother and get stories from her, so of course she didn't speak English, right? So I'll go and she'll tell me the stories, and then I'll write them in English, right? So in a way, that's but then also I did go back to her. I did go back to her and tell her, hey, your stories were really, really good. This is what they are, right? So for me, when I think about it now, I'm turning 53 in a few days. When I think of it now, it's actually theft, right? So I stole from her. Okay, well, it's not a jailable offense. Always going to throw me in jail for it. In fact, you get rewarded for it, right? But I stole that knowledge without bringing it back. So the other question for you guys then is, how do you bring that knowledge back, right? How do you, all this knowledge you're learning, all these technologies and so on and so forth, how do you make them of the people, right? All right, okay. I'm done with my lecture now. All right, thank you.